fintech companies are spending an average of $1,450 to acquire a single customer, and a big part of that gets burned on ads. Now, here's what I find interesting. The fintech companies that are actually winning right now, they are not just increasing budgets, they are building something that keeps working in the background, a system that brings in high-intent leads every single day without paying for every click. And I want to show you how that works. I've worked with a number of fintech companies on their SEO, and I've seen the same pattern again and again. Once they stop relying only on ads, things start to shift. Costs stabilize, leads improve, growth feels a lot less stressful. And coming from a finance background, I look at this very simply. If your acquisition depends on constant spending, it's going to get expensive fast. So let's talk about what's actually going on here. Fintech companies fall into the same loop. They run ads. They get traffic, maybe a few conversions, so they double down. And for a while it works. Then costs go up, performance drops, and suddenly you're chasing results again. It's like you're always trying to refill the same bucket, and there's a hole in it. Now compare that with how fintech buyers actually behave. They don't wake up and buy a payment solution in the 5 minutes. They research, they compare, they look for proof, sometimes for weeks, sometimes longer. And if you are not showing up while that's happening, you are just not part of the decision. That's where SEO for fintech starts to make a difference, because it puts you in front of people before they are ready to buy, while they are still figuring things out. And that's where trust starts. Now, to make this work, you need to understand how people search, because it's not random. There's a buyer journey in the middle. At the beginning, they're just trying to understand the problem. You'll see searches like accept payments online or online payment process. Then they move into comparison mode. They start looking at options. Payment gateway versus API. Best payment system for small businesses. And then, when they are closer to making a decision, the searches get very specific. Stripe alternatives. Best payment gateway for startups. Here's where most companies get it wrong. They only focus on that last stage, which means they're showing up late. At that point, the buyer already has context, maybe even a shortlist, and you are trying to squeeze in at the end. That's not a great position to be in. What you want is to show up earlier and stay visible the whole way through. Now, let's talk about keywords for a second, because this is where things can either work really well or go nowhere. A lot of companies chase traffic. They go after big, broad keywords. Things like fintech trends. That brings visitors, sure, but not necessarily buyers. Someone searching for payment API integration guide is in a completely different mindset. They're trying to build something. They are moving forward. That's the kind of traffic you want. So you start focusing on searches like payment API integration, KYC automation software, subscription billing platform, and then you go even deeper. You layer in industries, SaaS billing, healthcare payments, marketplaces. Now you are not just getting traffic, you are getting the right people. And if you are listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm probably missing some of this, I put together a website SEO audit checklist you can grab below. It will help you spot gaps in your current setup and see where the opportunities actually are, especially in fintech where things can get pretty complex. Now, here's the part most people underestimate. Content. Not just any content, the right kind. Because in fintech, people are careful. They are thinking about risk all the time. So, surface level blog posts don't really cut it. You need depth, clear explanations, real use cases, integration steps, things that make someone feel like, okay, these people know what they are doing. Because that's what builds trust. And trust is what moves decision forward. Let me give you a concrete example. I work with a B2B fintech company that provides an international VAT compliance platform for companies with branches across multiple European countries. At the time, they were spending heavily on ads, Google ads, LinkedIn direct outreach, pretty standard. Their acquisition costs were sitting somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 per customer, which might be fine until you try to scale it. When we looked at their SEO, the issue was pretty obvious. They're only getting traffic from people already searching for their brand. Almost nothing from people actually searching solutions. So they weren't showing up for things like international VAT compliance, which VAT compliance software is highly rated, Avalara alternatives, which means they were invisible during the most important part of the buying process. So we changed the approach. We focused on high-intent searches. We built proper technical guides, step-by-step content, comparison pages that actually helped people decide. And we organized everything into clear topical maps, VAT compliance, VAT software. Then we added simple but effective conversion points inside the content, demo links, clear next steps, nothing complicated. Within about 12 to 14 months, their organic traffic increased by 30 to 16%, nothing spectacular. But their acquisition cost reduced by 40% to about $4,000 to $6,000. But honestly, the biggest difference wasn't the numbers, it was the quality of the leads and the shortening of the sales cycle. These were people who already understood what they need. They weren't starting from zero, which makes conversations a lot easier and shorter, by the way, which your sales team will definitely appreciate. This is where SEO starts to feel very different from ads. You are not interrupting people. You are showing up when they are already looking, and that changes everything. Now, if you are thinking, this sounds good, but I wouldn't know where to start. That's exactly what I help fintech companies with. Building SEO strategies that actually reduce acquisition costs and bring in qualified. If you want a second opinion on what you are doing right now, you can book an SEO consultation below. Now, stepping back for a second, the real advantage here isn't just lower costs, it's momentum. When your content is structured properly, when topics connect, when your site builds authority, you don't start from zero every time. Things build on top of each other. Traffic grows, visibility improves, results become more predictable. And that's the system we talked about at the beginning. You are not paying for attention anymore, you are earning it. If you want to go deeper into this, watch this next video. Top 8 content strategies for 2026 explained in under 10 minutes.